Hey everybody, welcome back to Travel Trailer Nation. I did say I would come back and tell you about the 294RK Alliance Delta, and I would tell you how the shakedown trip went. So let's get into it. First of all, from an overall perspective, there's really very little to complain about with the Alliance Delta 294RK. From the double-sided Asdel walls and floor to the solid surface countertops to the PEX plumbing and the outdoor kitchen, it's really a pretty solid unit, and we certainly do like it a lot. It combines all the things that we've liked on about 3 or 4 different travel trailers. It has the U-shaped kitchen of the 2008 Coachman 288 FKS with more storage than you would ever want or need. It has the outdoor kitchen of the 2015 Jayco 27 RBOK, which when we got it, I had never had an outdoor kitchen before, and I really wasn't thrilled with the idea. And I even actually tried to talk the dealership into removing it so I could just use it for storage, and they were not going to do that. So net, I ended up loving that kitchen. This one's not as nice, but at least it keeps me from having to tote the heavy Blackstone griddle along and the bumper mounted grill. So, it's a step up. It also has the large living area of the 2017 2950 RL Imagine that we had for 8 years, and we love that seating plan, and this is very similar. Actually, it has more of an open feel because the island's no longer there. And then lastly, it has a rack and pinion slide on the large slide, which is an incredible step up from the Schwintek system. And I think all you know, I'm not a big Schwintek fan, although I did get really good at replacing motors. And we had rack and pinion on just about every trailer we had up until we got the Imagine, when we ended up with the Schwintek. So I'm happy about that. Now, there is an exact slide on the other side of the trailer that moves the fireplace in and out, which is very light. So not really worried about that slide mechanism. And I've read up on it and gone through their training materials, and I think it's a major improvement over Schwintek. So needless to say, we love this trailer, and we traded in the Imagine on it. And the Imagine is a great trailer, so we found out that it actually sold after only 1 day. And I really think that's because after 8 years, it still looked brand new. There wasn't anything that I didn't take care of on that trailer and maintain. So I think whoever got it got a really nice trailer. So let's talk about the new Delta. We brought it home from the lot, and one thing I wasn't really expecting is we were leaving like 2 days later to go for the shakedown trip. I didn't really expect a change in temperature down here that we got. I started to get freeze warnings that we were going to get down to near 26 degrees. That was the forecast. And so I knew the water heater would be okay. It has a contour water heater, and it actually will turn on and keep those coils, the water coils, warm, regardless of whether you're hooked up to water or not. So I wasn't really worried about that. What I was worried about, though, was just the pipes inside the trailer. So I set the furnace to 60, which is as low as the Furrion furnace will go. And I woke up at about 4 in the morning, and I looked at my Marcel unit. And if you don't know what a Marcel unit is, take a look at my previous videos. I think it's a must-have if you've got pets, if you're traveling with pets. But I looked at the temperature in the trailer, and it was 45, so I knew something was wrong. I came out right away. I tried to fire it up. It was a no-go. Went back into the office, and I found that if it does that, because there's air in the lines, for instance, which I think was the case here, all you have to do is turn the 12 volts off for, 15, 20 seconds, turn it back on again, and it'll fire up. And that's exactly what happened. So I was happy about that. The other thing that I'll mention just as an aside is moving everything that I'd taken out of the Grand Design Imagine took an incredible amount of time to put back in. The water pucks, the Level Mate Pro, I had to remeasure everything and install that. all the satellite TV stuff, because I do actually mount stuff up and out of the way. All of that took a lot longer than I was thinking. So there was quite a bit of work that was time consuming, but we got her all done, and then we were able to head out to Lake Whitney, and it towed like a dream. I had no problems with the way that it handled on the road. We got there and, got all set up. Everything went really smooth. And then we noticed that there was a number of things that happened. And, they're not really major things, but let's go through them one by one. The first thing we noticed is that around the base of the toilet, there was a ring of antifreeze. Almost looked like a red caulk line. And of course, I wiped it up right away, and I called the dealership and told them, and they had kind of the same thought that I did initially, that maybe someone had slopped it and it was there. However, when we got back home from our trip, after being there for, 5 days and not having anything around the base of the toilet, we got home and here was some more antifreeze, another, caulk line ring of it. So that's something absolutely I could pull the toilet. It's under warranty. I'd rather not do that, because if I pull it and then I find I need a new seal, that's something they're going to have on hand. Plus, I don't want to void the warranty if they say, hey, you did this and now you've got this problem. Forget it. Let them deal with it. I don't think it's a big issue. We also had a power converter issue that I've never experienced before. We were in the trailer and suddenly all the lights went out. And of course, my first thought was, well, the EMS system's doing its job. Maybe there was a power surge. But when we went out into the living room, all the 110 was still running. So that wasn't the case. I then went over to the power distribution panel, and there was a breaker that was tripped. Now, I never heard a breaker trip when the lights went out. So I'm thinking that happened some other time, and we've just been running off the battery for 12 volts. So I flipped that breaker back on, never had another issue the whole trip. And even now, as it sits here plugged in, is not an issue. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on it, but I think that was just either it got flipped off somehow there at the dealership or something happened along the way. I can always pull that panel and make sure that the wires are tight and all of that, and I probably will when I get back in there next, but I really don't think that's going to be an issue. Now, I went over the roof with a fine-tooth comb at the dealership, and I want to tell you, I'm not afraid to walk away from a trailer that's got problems, and I actually did walk away from one that had problems, but that roof was in really good shape. Now, after the trip, I did find a nail that's worked its way up. It actually looks like more like a screw. Has worked its way up probably, I want to say, 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch, somewhere in there. It's pushing up against the PVC roof, so that's going to have to be dealt with somehow. We'll see what comes of that. I do want to get up there and go over the whole roof again now to see if anything else has worked its way up. Hopefully not. We'll get that taken care of. The backsplash behind the stove has a bowed spot where obviously they didn't get enough adhesive on it. I think it's close enough to the window there that the trim ring could be taken off and probably some adhesive could be, sprayed in there and it could be pushed back. Would anyone else notice it other than me? No, I don't think so. Tammy didn't notice it. I don't think anyone would, but it's one of those things where once you know it's there, it kind of bugs you. So, we'll see. We'll see if I do anything about it. The other thing I wanted to say is that the number of stickers that Alliance has put in their trailers and on their outside of their trailers is ridiculous. Most stickers I've ever seen on any travel trailer I've ever bought, and most of them aren't in good shape to begin with. They're peeling. And people that buy trailers, they're not going to hang on to stickers inside the unit that say things like extra large slide, or some of the other stuff that they've got in there. If I were Alliance, I would definitely stop with the stickers. I would move to a spec sheet or a feature sheet. I would list all the things you think that new buyers would want to know about the trailer that you think are benefits to have, and I would probably tape that on the counter. I spent a good amount of time getting the stickers off, and actually the one that's on the fascia over the couch, as I started to pull that, it started to pull the paper off the wood trim there. So I don't know what we're going to do about that, but I'm not really concerned about it, but I would stop doing that if I were Alliance. They're really not good quality stickers to begin with. And then also, I would not put 2 magnets on the trash drawer. That thing is so almost impossible to open. And I'm not in terrible shape. I think I can handle a trash drawer. I have a magnet on the one in my house, but man, I'll tell you what, these are hard to open. So I actually took care of that. Took both of those magnets off and just put one of them back in the center, and it's a much improved cabinet now. And then I am going to do another video about the wiring of the outside TV. I don't like what I'm hearing from Alliance on how they've wired that trailer for satellite, but I don't want to spring it on you yet until I have all my facts straight. And that's kind of it. That's the list. I mean, you can see it's nothing really major. The nail in the roof probably is a little major, but we'll see what happens there. Overall, how did it perform? I mean, flawlessly. It was really, really a good trip. The Furrion fridge worked great, although it was noisy, but my old fridge was noisy. The propane gas furnace was noisy. I think it just makes a lot of different noises that I'm not used to, a lot of gurgling. And I think when the compressor's turning on and off, it sounds like a car about 3 sites over, someone slamming the door on the car. So beyond that, though, like I said, I don't think that is probably abnormal for that 12-volt refrigerator, and it worked beautifully. I mean, everything was cold. The freezer was, at the right temperature. So I was pretty happy with how it performed. And the furnace works great. It is warmer in the bedroom where the thermostat is located than it is out in the living area. And that's just a function of having the furnace under the closet there in the bedroom. So you'll just have to deal with dialing it, maybe dialing it down at night and then dialing it up in the day. The on-demand water heater takes a little getting used to. The best thing you can do from what I've read online is set it to, a temperature that you can handle straight hot, probably like 105, 110 degrees, and then not bother mixing cold with it when you're in the shower. We did that. It worked great. I will say the shower head that's in there, if you have a wife that has thick long hair, or if you have thick, long hair, you're probably not going to be happy with the stock faucet in there. You might want to go to the Oxygenics spray head. That's what I did. I went out and bought one, and we've had those in the last few trailers we've had, and it really does increase the pressure to the point where you won't have any issues. So don't really have a complaint about the water heater, although it takes a lot of time for the hot water to get to the kitchen, but that's the same in my house, so kind of used to that. The only complaint I had was really, and not really a problem for me, but for Tammy, was that shower faucet. So one other thing I wanted to mention is Alliance has I guess a program where they're not printing owner's manuals and putting them in the case you get when you buy the trailer, and I understand what's behind that. What I would do is offer them a printed copy out on Amazon. Let people go out, put it at cost, let them buy it at cost. At least they will have a printed copy. Trying to scroll through an owner's manual on your iPhone when you are at a campsite is impossible. And it's probably impossible on an iPad too. I printed my own through my KDP account at Amazon, and I have a beautiful hard copy owner's manual now that I take with me, and if I have an issue, I can go right through it and find the solution really quick. So I would do that. Also, not real happy with the way they do support at Alliance, and I'm not going to compare Grand Design today to Alliance because I don't know what Grand Design is doing today as far as their support model, but I will say this: back in 2017, when we had an issue, I could get on with someone in the tech department at Grand Design, and within 10 minutes my issue was resolved. We right now on 2 different issues are going through this iterative back and forth email thing, which is really, really terrible. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm just not a fan of it. And to be fair to them, I don't know if everyone else has adopted a model like that, and that's why they're doing it. But I don't like it, and I don't think it's efficient. So, lastly, finally got there. If you were worried about how Eva took to the trailer, no worries. When we brought it home the first day, we let her go in there, and she sniffed around for a minute. Obviously, knew it wasn't the same trailer, but felt at home like very quickly with this trailer. And if as soon as we got to Lake Whitney, you wouldn't have known that she'd ever been in another trailer. She was just completely at home in it. She had a great time. She's a great dog, a great camper. I can't imagine a better dog camping than Eva. That's my summary. I told you guys I'd be back. I hope you found it helpful. I hope it doesn't sound bitchy or complaining, because I definitely don't want it to come off that way. I just wanted to give you guys my total honest review of how things went. And so, until next time, happy camping.